Hey everyone, Mike Bedard here, product specialist and drum expert at Artesia Pro and EFNOTE drums. Today I'm going to show you our brand new EFNOTE 5 drum kit. It's a e-drum kit, and I'm going to show you some of the strengths this thing has going to market. So what we've got here is a 16-inch kick drum. We've got a 10-inch rack tom. We've got a 12-inch snare and a 12-inch floor. Up on the cymbals, we have a 18-inch ride, an 8-inch splash, and a 16-inch crash and 14-inch hi-hats. Each of these cymbals has 360 playing zone and 360 choke zone on it. So you can play the bell, the bow, and the edge. You can choke it. Same deal. So over on the hi-hat, we've got a 14-inch cymbal with a plate underneath it with optical sensors in it. So this can read how far apart your cymbals are going dynamically. It can play heel to toe. And it has a full dynamic range. Just really good cymbals. So when we're in here in the trigger function, you can go over to hi-hat control and you can set the editing parameters for your hi-hat. So you have your foot close sensitivity, right? Which is 1 through 10, all the way down to -10. And then you have your closed hi-hat tightness. See how the graphic opens with it? Those are the optical sensors working with it. And I'm going to set both of those to 0 just because I'm boring. So here, I'll show you some of the sounds that are in this crash. I love the thing. Pretty funky. This is the Speedstar kit. Here we have a kit called the Great Strokes kit. I edited quite a bit of the tuning on it. It's pretty muddy, but I just love the vibe of this thing. Then we have the Studio F kit, self-explanatory. It's a little more dead, made for the studio. So one of the great features of this kit is its module. This is the same module more or less as the EFNOTE 3. There's just some different kits in each that kind of fit the setup appropriately. I'm going to show you some of the editing functions on this. I'm just going to edit a snare drum. So we go into menu. It's very easy. Go up into kit edit. I will hit the snare, which selects it, pop it open. There we have a whole ton of snares that we can pick from. It's the one that I had selected. Let's start there. So, tuning, I've got that at minus 140. It goes up to ludicrous tuning. Down to So on these snare drums, there's quite a bit of complexity in their sound, which means if you're not playing perfect, they're not going to sound perfect. If you play perfect, if you play like a machine-y kind of roll, you're going to have that kind of dynamic. But if you play uneven, it's all in there. The full dynamic range is in there. There's also a side stick that has full dynamic range as well. Back to the neoclassic drum kit, and I'm going to show you some of the other editing functions. So basically you have, once it's selected, okay, we're on the snare, right? You have your level, you have your tuning, you have your muffling. Here, I'll show you that after I tune this back up to something kind of normal. Okay, muffling. Okay, so that's up to 49, 50 degrees of muffling. All the way down to 0. Right? Then we have, on the mix page, you have your ambience, right? So your ambience, I've got it at 58. Let's go into the kit that's got the type of ambience. So here are a few of the different sounds that we have in there. We'll start it off, hall, hall 2, so each drum on here has its own amount of ambience that you can put against the overall level of the kit, right? So there's your ambient level. Go back in here, and then we also have a layering function. So you hear this here. Let me tone down the stage a little bit. Okay. So now I'll show you the layering function. I think this is a wonderful function. It adds a lot of complexity to any of your instruments. You can double up cymbals. You can add another snare in there and mix them against each other, tune them differently. You can actually match pitches or create intervals, whatever you want to do. it just adds a lot of complexity to it, and I think it's a great function. Here's how you do it. You go to Layer, turn it on. It has your point, which your point is the amount of volume before that engages. So if it's set at 1, it's going to be in there from the beginning. I'm going to set it way high. I think you can go up to like 127 or something. Yes. So I'm going to set it at around 93. And then this virtual pad 1, that's the VP1. I'll go up here to the pad, hit VP1, and then go into instrument. And then I'll pick a snare for it. So now we have 2 snares. I'll put it on the brass because it's kind of flat. So you have that real obvious sound that's in here, right? This is where you can put your chatter. And when you want it to ring, you bring it up. Whatever you want to do. So there's quite a bit of editing you could do on each of these sounds. They actually come with really good sounding kits right off the bat, and some really experimental, there's not a lot of limitations on the thing. So I'm going to show you a couple. This one's called the First Note kit. This is kind of a funky tuned bebop kit that I've actually gone in and tuned a hair different myself. The kick drum, notice the dynamic range. I've displayed this on the 3 kit before, but this just I love so much. It feels so real. Here's another way that you can use the layering tool that's in here. So we go in, go to mix, turn the layering. You have the off and on. Now it's on, and I've chosen this little, a higher woodblock sound that's in there in the top. So here's another application for the layering function. So this kit is called Snare Off. It has the snares off. So if you go into the layer, go into edit, mix, and then you have your layering, right? I turn that on. So now I have a chance to go in here. And now I've got virtual pad 1, which is that snare drum. As long as you're next to it and you can hit it, off, on. Pretty cool. And let's see, in pad, you have the curve, self-explanatory. That's how much front end dynamically is going to be on your playing, how loud you have to play before it engages. go. And you have your threshold, which is also self-explanatory. We can get that up to 50 and down to -10 on the threshold. So as far as connectability on this, it's an awesome device. So we have USB audio, 8 channels, plug and play. So you can plug into any DAW and just it'll line out 8 tracks for you. Then you can assign your outputs from the device. At the same time, simultaneously, it has USB MIDI. So you can use your favorite drum software and replace it with it, or you can stack them all. You can have the stereo track of MIDI with the 8 channels of output from this device. I think that's incredible. You don't have to install drivers or anything. You just plug and play. And you can also monitor. You don't have to run it back into the machine and monitor from here. You can monitor from your computer, which is great. As far as analog outs, we have kind of a cool setup. You can either go stereo out, which is your typical stereo analog out, or you can go 4 analog out channels by taking the headphone jack. It uses splitter, and it goes channels 1 and 2. 1 and 2 come from here, and then 3 and 4 come from here. And you can have all of your effects and everything bust to 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 is like you can isolate instruments just to bring them up a hair and get it in balance. It's not like, a 8 or 16 out analog kind of vibe at all. It's just 4 with a little more control, which I thought was really cool. Once I figured out exactly how to use it correctly. So I'll show you real quick here how to navigate this. So you go into your settings, and then you have audio pad. Right here you have banks A through D, right? Those are different settings of how you want to route your outputs. So here I've got 1 and 2, I've got kick and snare, right? And everything else I have summed on 3 and 4. Now all of my effects, everything are running to 3 and 4 as well. So I can use 1 and 2 to kind of define the kick and the snare as I see fit. Or I can put whatever instrument on 1 and 2 and do that same thing. Also with that, you have audio in, out. So you have a whole bunch of different options for your routing. So if you look here, so that's from my line out, that's 1 and 2. I'm just putting that on the mains, or I'm sliding it over to 1 and 2 there. Just very, very easy to get around on, very simple. It's like if it's difficult, you're thinking a little too hard about it. That's what I've found with this. There's a lot of very intuitive features on it. Then you have the basic maple kit. So I want to talk to you about this kick drum. There's a kind of a subby placebo effect that when you kick it, the front head, it's an actual mylar drum head. There's body on the end of it, right? So when you kick it, you feel that bounce in your foot from that head. And I tried it with other kits that don't have the real drum head on the front, and it's like they fall flat next to it. So I just thought it was something special. Even when I hold it, the feeling of that compared to that's like boom. There's this long sub that's in your foot, the same way that a butt kicker works on your throne. It's just something cool. Here's the Audience of Thousands kit. Let's add some ambience to this set. So we go into the edit, go over to mix. Okay, I'm gonna look at, I have that ambience on the snare. I'm gonna go into the kit. Let's change this up. Let's get on stage. So if you have any questions about the EFNOTE 5 or the EFNOTE 3 drum sets, please email me at mikeb@artesia-pro.com. Thank you.